Hello everyone, myself Dr. S. Mohamed Nazeer. This class I am going to teach you international economics. In international economics, Ricardo's theory of comparative cost advantage. David Ricardo, the British economist, in his Principles of Political Economy and Taxation, published in 1817, formulated a systematic theory called comparative cost theory. Later, it was refined by J.S. Mill, Marshall, Taussig and others. Ricardo demonstrates that the basis of international trade is the comparative cost differences. In other words, trade can take place even if the absolute cost differences is absent, but there is a comparative cost difference. I repeat, trade can take place even if the absolute cost differences is absent, but there is a comparative cost differences. According to David Ricardo, a country can gain from trade when it produces at relatively lower cost. Even when a country enjoys absolute advantages in both goods, the country would specialize in the production and the exports of those goods which are relatively more advantageous. Disadvantages in production of both the goods, the country would specialize in production and the exports of the commodity in which it is relatively less disadvantageous. Okay, this is the important point here. A country can gain from trade when it produces at relatively lower cost. Even when a country enjoys absolute advantage in production of goods, the country would specialize in production and exports of those goods which are relatively more advantageous. Similarly, even when a country has absolute disadvantage in production of both goods, the country would specialize in production and exports of the commodity in which it is relatively less disadvantageous. Okay, let's see the assumptions. There is only two nations. Labor is the only element of cost of production. All labors are equal efficiency. Labor is perfectly mobile within the country but perfectly immobile between the countries. Production is subject to law of constant returns. Foreign trade is free from all barriers. No change in technology, no transport cost, perfect competition, full employment, no government interventions. These are the assumptions of the Ricardian theory. Let's see the Ricardian theory in detail. Ricardo's theory of comparative cost can be explained with a hypothetical example of production cost of cloth and wheat in America and India. Let's see the example. This table and diagram explains the comparative cost advantage. Okay, units of labor required to produce one unit. See here, there is two countries, America and India. They are producing two commodities, cloth and wheat. So America required 100 laborers to produce 1 unit of cloth. Likewise, America requires 120 laborers to produce 1 unit of wheat. Here the domestic exchange ratio, 1 wheat equals to 1.2 cloth. Likewise, India requires to produce 1 unit of cloth 90 laborers, 1 unit of wheat 80 laborers. Okay. See, it is evident from the example that India has an absolute advantage in production of both cloth and wheat. Okay. See, look here. So, less labor compared to America. India requires less labor to produce both the commodities compared to America. However, India should concentrate on the production of wheat. Okay, here the comparative. So in order to produce 1 unit of cloth, they require 90 laborers. Here 1 unit of wheat, 80 laborers. So India will benefit to producing wheat 10 unit of labor. Okay. However, India should concentrate on the production of wheat, in which she enjoys a comparative cost advantage. Okay. For America, the comparative cost disadvantage is lesser in production of cloth. So, America requires 100 labors, 120 labors for wheat. So, America will get benefit of 20 labor. Okay, hence America will specialize in the production of cloth and export it to India in exchange for wheat. Okay, any exchange ratio between 0.88 units and 1.2 units of cloth against 1 unit of wheat represents gain for both the nations. With trade, India can get 1 unit of cloth and 1 unit of wheat by using 160 labor units. Look here. So, India is producing with the help of 80 labors, 1 unit of wheat. Again, India is producing 80 labors with the help of 80 labors, 1 unit of wheat. That wheat will export to America. So, in order to produce, okay, now 1 unit of cloth and 1 unit of wheat, India requires 160 labor units. In the absence of trade, for getting this benefit, India will have to use 170 units of labor. So, this 80 plus 90, 170. If trade is there, then 80 plus 80, India will get 1 unit of wheat and 1 unit of cloth. How? The India is import the cloth from USA. Okay. So, in the absence of trade, India will have to use 170 units of labor. America also gains from this trade. With the trade, America can get 1 unit of cloth and 1 unit of wheat by using 200 units of labor. Look here. So, in America is producing 1 unit of cloth with the help of 100 labors. They are using that one. Again, instead of producing wheat, they are producing 100 units, 100 labor, producing 1 unit of cloth. That cloth is export to India. So, with the help of 200 units of labor, the 200 labors, 1 unit of cloth, 1 unit of wheat, America is getting. Okay. Otherwise, America will have to use 220, 120 plus 100, 220 units of labor for getting 1 unit of cloth and 1 unit of wheat. So, the trade is beneficial for both countries because of comparative cost advantages.